Hi there! Welcome back to American Lingo Academy. I'm Luna, and today we're going to learn 10 super useful phrasal verbs that native English speakers use all the time in everyday conversation. These are phrases you'll hear in movies, TV shows, and real conversations with American friends. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive right in. Number 1. Die for. This phrasal verb means you want something so badly that you would do almost anything to get it. We use it when we really, really love something or desire it very much. It's a way to show extreme enthusiasm about food, clothes, experiences, or anything else you find amazing. For example, imagine you're at a coffee shop with your best friend, and she orders this incredible chocolate cake. You take one bite, and it's the most delicious thing you've ever tasted. You might say, "Oh my goodness, this cake is amazing. I would die for another slice." It means the cake is so good that you want it desperately. Here's another one. Let's say your coworker just came back from vacation in Hawaii. She's showing you photos of the beautiful beaches and the crystal blue water. You look at the pictures and say, "Wow, I would die for a vacation like that right now." You're expressing how much you want to experience that same trip. Number 2. Die away. This means something gradually becomes quieter, weaker, or less noticeable until it finally disappears completely. We often use this when talking about sounds, voices, or feelings that slowly fade into nothing. For example, you're sitting in your living room late at night reading a book. You hear a siren from an ambulance on the street outside. At first it's loud and clear, but as the ambulance drives farther away, the sound gets softer and softer. You might describe this by saying, "The siren slowly died away as the ambulance drove down the street." The sound gradually faded until you couldn't hear it anymore. Here's another one. Imagine you're at a concert and the singer finishes her final song. The crowd goes absolutely wild, clapping and cheering loudly. But after a few minutes, people start to quiet down. Someone might say, "The applause died away and everyone started leaving the theater." Number 3. Die back. This phrasal verb is used mostly when talking about plants. It means the visible parts of a plant, like the leaves and stems, start to wither and look dead, usually because of cold weather. But the roots are still alive underground, and the plant will grow again later. For example, you have a beautiful garden full of flowers and plants. Summer was amazing and everything was green and blooming. But now it's late autumn and getting cold. You notice your perennial flowers are turning brown. You tell your neighbor, "Don't worry, these plants die back every winter, but they'll come back in spring. The tops look dead, but the roots are fine." Here's another one. Let's say your mom is worried about her herb garden. She planted mint and it was growing wonderfully all summer, but now it looks completely dead and brown. You reassure her by saying, "Mint always dies back in the cold weather. It'll grow again next year." You're explaining that this is natural and the plant isn't really dead, just resting. Number 4. Die down. This means something becomes less strong, less intense, or less active. We use this for things like wind, noise, excitement, anger, or any situation that was very intense but is now calming down. For example, there's a big storm outside with heavy wind and rain. Trees are bending and you can hear the wind howling loudly. After a couple of hours, the weather starts to improve. You look outside and say to your family, "I think the storm is finally dying down. We can go outside soon." The wind and rain are becoming weaker. Here's another one. Imagine there's been a huge controversy at your workplace about a new policy. Everyone was upset and talking about it constantly for weeks. But now, a month later, people have accepted it. Your colleague mentions, "Remember when everyone was so angry about the schedule change?" Well, all that anger has died down now. The strong emotions have faded away. If you're enjoying this lesson and learning something new, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We upload new videos every single day to help you improve your English. Your support really means the world to me. Okay, let's continue. Number 5. die off. This phrasal verb means that members of a group, whether they're people, animals, or plants, gradually die one by one until there are very few left or none at all. For example, you're watching a nature documentary about elephants in Africa. The narrator explains that during a terrible drought, there wasn't enough water or food. You hear him say, "Many elephants died off during that dry season because they couldn't find enough resources to survive. One by one, members of the herd died." Here's another one. Let's say you're talking to your grandmother about her childhood friends. She mentions that she had a wonderful group of friends when she was young, but now most of them are gone. She might say sadly, "My old friends have been dying off over the years, and now there are only 3 of us left." Number 6. Die out. This means something disappears completely and stops existing. We use this for traditions, languages, species of animals, or customs that were once common but have now completely vanished. For example, you're in a history class learning about ancient languages. Your teacher is talking about Latin and how it was once spoken throughout the Roman Empire. She explains, "Latin died out as a spoken language over 1,000 years ago, though we still study it today. Nobody speaks it as their native language anymore." Here's another one. Imagine you're having a conversation with your grandfather about technology. He's telling you about how things were different when he was young. He says, "When I was a kid, we used to write letters to each other. But that custom has almost died out now because everyone just sends text messages." Number 7. Dig in. This is a very common and friendly phrasal verb that means to start eating, especially with enthusiasm and energy. When someone says dig in, they're telling you to start enjoying your meal. For example, you've been cooking all afternoon preparing a big dinner for your friends. Finally, everything is ready and you bring all the dishes to the table. Your friends are looking at the delicious food, waiting politely. You smile and say, "Everything looks wonderful. Please dig in." You're telling them to start eating. Here's another one. Let's say you're at a family barbecue and your uncle has just finished grilling hamburgers and hot dogs. Everyone is sitting around the picnic table and the food is right there. Your uncle announces loudly, "Okay, everyone, the food is hot and ready. Dig in before it gets cold." Number 8. Dig into. This phrasal verb has 2 common meanings. First, it can mean to start eating something with enthusiasm. Second, and more commonly, it means to investigate something deeply or to study something carefully. For example, you're working on a research project for school about climate change. You need to understand the topic really well, so you spend hours reading articles. You might tell your study partner, "I really need to dig into these research papers this weekend to understand the data better." You're saying you need to study them carefully. Here's another one. Imagine your friend is having problems with her bank account. Some charges don't look right and she's confused. She calls the bank and talks to a customer service representative. The representative says, "Let me dig into your account history and see what's going on here." They're saying they will investigate carefully. Number 9. Dig out. This means to find something or remove something by digging, searching carefully, or making an effort to locate it. We often use this when something is buried, hidden, or difficult to reach. For example, it's winter, and there was a huge snowstorm last night. Your car is completely covered with snow in the driveway. You can barely see it under all that white snow. You put on your coat and grab a shovel, then say to your roommate, "I need to dig out my car before I can go to work this morning." Here's another one. Let's say you're cleaning out your closet and looking for an old photo album from high school. You haven't seen it in years and you know it's somewhere deep in the back behind boxes. After searching for 20 minutes, you finally find it. You might say excitedly, "I finally dug out my old photo album. It was buried under a pile of boxes." Number 10. Dig up. This phrasal verb means to discover information, especially information that is hidden, secret, or from the past. It can also literally mean to remove something from the ground by digging. For example, you're a journalist working on a story about a famous politician. You spend weeks researching and interviewing people. Finally, you discover some interesting information about his college years that nobody knew before. You tell your editor, "I managed to dig up some fascinating information about his early career." Here's another one. Imagine your family is having a reunion, and your aunt loves telling stories about when everyone was young. She starts talking about embarrassing things your dad did when he was a teenager. Your dad laughs and says, "Oh no, why do you always have to dig up these old embarrassing stories?" And that's it. We've covered 10 important phrasal verbs with die and dig today. Remember, the best way to learn these is to practice using them in your own conversations. Try to use at least one or two of these every day this week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fantastic English lesson.